It was a quiet Tuesday night, and I was working my usual pizza delivery shift. Around 11:30 p.m., an order came in from the edge of town, a neighborhood surrounded by dense woods. The delivery instructions were vague, and the address didn't show up on GPS. I hesitated at first, but frankly, I was broke and needed the money. My map suggested a shortcut through a narrow back road. I had driven it before, but that night, the road felt different. My headlights barely pierced the oppressive darkness as twisted trees leaned over the pavement, forming a tunnel. Halfway down the shortcut, my radio sputtered and died, replaced by static. The silence pressed down on me. Suddenly, a shadow darted across the road. I slammed the brakes, tires screeching. For a moment, I thought it was a deer, but as my eyes adjusted, I saw it wasn't an animal. It was humanoid, with unnaturally long limbs and a hunched posture. Its face was hidden in shadow, but I felt its gaze burn through the windshield. I blinked, and it was gone. The woods around me were deathly silent. Shaken, I sped up and reached a delivery location, a crumbling house at the end of a long gravel driveway. No lights were on, but the order instructions said to leave the pizza on the porch. As I approached, I noticed the house's windows were boarded up. The air was heavy, carrying an earthy, decayed smell. I placed the pizza down and knocked. The sound echoed unnaturally, as if the house were hollow. Then, from behind me, I heard gravel crunching. I spun around, heart racing, but saw no one. Only the woods stared back, their shadows deeper than they should have been. The crunching continued, now circling me, though I couldn't see what was causing it. My car was parked down the driveway, and I bolted toward it, the pizza long forgotten. Just as I unlocked the door, I saw it again, that figure from the road, now standing at the edge of the trees. It tilted its head unnaturally, then took a slow, deliberate step forward. I jumped into the car, locking the doors. My hands shook as I started the engine. As I drove, the figure disappeared into the woods behind me, or so I thought. I glanced in the rearview mirror and froze. It was sitting in the back seat, its distorted face inches from mine. Its hollow eyes seemed to pulse with malice. I screamed and swerved off the road, hitting a tree. When I looked back, the seat was empty, but faint claw marks were etched into the fabric. I quit that job the next day. A few years ago, I worked for a local courier service, delivering packages late at night. One shift, I was assigned an address at an old apartment building on the outskirts of town. The building was infamous for being partially condemned, with most units vacant. The package was addressed to apartment 3B. When I arrived, the lobby was dimly lit, and the elevator was out of order. The stairwell smelled like mildew and rot. As I climbed to the third floor, the air grew colder with each step. The third floor was eerily silent, and many of the doors were boarded shut. The hallway lights flickered, casting unsettling shadows. I found 3B at the end of the hall. The door looked newer than the others, as if recently replaced. I knocked, but no one answered. I was about to leave the package when I heard whispering, faint and unintelligible, coming from inside. It sounded like multiple voices, speaking in unison. My skin crawled, but curiosity got the better of me, and I knocked again. The whisper stopped. The silence was so heavy that it felt like the entire floor was holding its breath. Then, the doorknob turned, and the door creaked open just an inch. "Hello?" I called out, but no one replied. Using my flashlight, I shone it inside. The room was in disarray, with peeling wallpaper and broken furniture. The floor was covered in photographs. I picked one up and nearly dropped it. It was a picture of me, taken earlier that night. I could feel my pulse pounding in my ears. The smell hit me next, a nauseating mix of rot and something metallic. I backed away, but as I turned, the door slammed shut. The sound echoed down the hall. I fumbled for my phone to call for help. but the screen was frozen on a text I hadn't sent. Don't leave. My breath caught as I felt a presence behind me. Turning slowly, I saw a man-shaped figure at the end of the hallway. Its face was featureless, like smooth, unbroken skin stretched over a skull. The figure began walking toward me, its footsteps unnaturally loud. I ran down the stairs, skipping steps in my panic. The smell of decay followed me, growing stronger with each step. I reached the lobby and threw open the door, only to find the parking lot empty. My car was gone. A shadow loomed over me, and when I turned, the figure was standing just inside the doorway, its blank face tilted as if studying me. I sprinted down the street, not stopping until I reached the gas station. When I returned with police, the apartment building looked abandoned. The door to 3B was gone, replaced by a brick wall. The officers dismissed my story, but when I checked the package's tracking history, it showed the address didn't exist. I quit that job and moved out of town shortly after. To this day, I can't explain what happened, but every now and then, I'll find one of those photos in my mailbox, always, of me, always taken when I'm alone.